there are things that are happening in the industry that are creating a lot of change. For example, the death of third-party cookies that is completely disrupting digital advertising. And so companies are really going to need to rely on other ways to connect with their customers. And so we think that tracking is sort of the old way. Having meaningful conversations and building authentic relationships is going to be more and more important, and email is really a solution for that. My name is Philippe Kwiatkowski. I'm the CEO and founder at Ubico.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries who share in the critical moments of what it takes to change an industry and build and lead a team that has your back. I'm your host, Noah Lampart, and today how Philippe Kwiatkowski created the email system backed by intelligence that learns from you. All this and more on Code Story. Philippe Kwiatkowski has been addicted to gaming since he was a teenager. He played games like Microsoft Flight Simulator and Grand Theft Auto, and in the process, he discovered multiplayer mods that allowed you to play online, which was his first introduction to coding. When he was 16, he got his first freelancing gig building websites, and eventually he studied computer science at university, and interestingly enough, he joined an accelerator. For fun, he enjoys playing soccer, and has played ever since high school. He also enjoys running, and in fact, is sort of prepping for a marathon. Eventually, he would love to do a Spartan race as well. During the days when he was involved in the accelerator, Phil started noticing that many founder problems were centered around distribution, or how to get their product in front of customers. He decided to build a better cold email tool, one that solved these problems. And it worked. This is the creation story of Ubico.
Ubico is essentially an email automation platform for growing companies. So founders, small business owners, small sales and marketing teams that are growth focused, and our platform helps them drive more sales with super targeted, highly relevant email campaigns. The way the company started was while I was studying computer science at my university. There was an accelerator, and in that accelerator there were a ton of really smart founders, really smart engineers, scientists that were building really cool products, but the one thing that they struggled with was booking customer interviews. That was like the common pain point. That's what people struggled with the most. So I hacked together a little prototype. Essentially, it was a cold email tool that allowed them to connect with their potential customers or potential users via email. And that proved to work really, really well. The founders there really saw great results, great value from it. But it turns out startups aren't the greatest customers because a lot of them are not around in 6 months. You can't really build a sustainable business off just startups. So we were lucky in the sense that we found out that small, medium-sized businesses, mid-market companies also have this challenge, but it's just it's in their marketing and sales functions.
Let's dive into the MVP, so that first product you built. Tell me how long it took to build and what sort of tools you used to bring it to life.
So the first MVP, I think, literally took a weekend. It was very, very quick. And we used a bunch of no-code tools. So we used Webflow, we used Zapier, and Google Sheets. So it was really hacky. 3 different tools. Webflow we used as a front-end dashboard. Zapier we used to glue the data from the dashboard into the Google Sheets. And then since I had some coding skills, I knew HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I could write some, leverage various APIs that allowed us to handle the email sending functionality. So it took a weekend. It was very very basic.
That's a great MVP. It's super unconstrained, right? You're building with low code to no code tools, right? And you're proving the concept. But even with an MVP like that, you got to make certain decisions and trade-offs about where you're going to start, right? What you're going to kind of cut down to feature-wise, or in the world of low-code tools, right? What you're going to use essentially to hack it together. So tell me about some of those decisions that you made specifically and how you coped with them.
I knew from experience that the moment you start writing code is when you're creating technical debt. So I really wanted us to build the right functionality. And so we decided we would continue to use Webflow as our front-end dashboard, so we didn't have to spend time doing any front-end development, because we knew the bulk of the work should be spent in email. How do we send emails reliably? How do we design a system that allows us to automate the sending of emails? You know, email is extremely complicated. It's like on a different protocol. It's SMTP. So it actually requires like a very different skill set. So we knew a lot of our time would have to be spent there versus like tweaking the design and the front end. So that's, yeah, because of the nature of what we do, we had to spend our time in designing the back end email functionality part versus the front end.
Then tell me a little bit, and you kind of started to allude to this in a little bit more of your overview and maturing the product, but let's dig into it. So how did you progress it and mature the product from that point? And I'm interested in structuring that in the standpoint of how did you build your roadmap, and how did you decide, okay, this is the next most important thing to build?
You know, we did it closely with our customers. As a strategy, we didn't want to start with self-service for this exact reason. Our product was priced at like $1,000 to $2,000 per month, so relatively high for a SaaS platform. And the reason we did that is because we also assigned an account manager to walk people through how to use the platform. And so that type of designing the customer relationship in that way was, you know, we did it on purpose because we wanted to get as much feedback and absorb all the learnings from how the customers used our platform. You know, we worked in close proximity with our customers, and it was really seeing what were the things that they used the most. So from the analytics that we would see on our end, we would notice, okay, this is a feature that they use more, so we would choose to work on that a little more. But essentially, we were always having a close relationship with our customers. We have our account managers have bi-weekly calls with them. So in those moments, almost all of our customers recommend a bunch of features, and then we take all those recommendations and then we put it in essentially an ICE framework that we use, and then we score it that way.
How do you go about in the scoring process, right? Because I think everybody has a little bit different flavor there. How do you score what's high, or what is the formula to score?
The way that we prioritize is we've kind of modified and created our own version of the ICE framework. In the quarter, we identify like 3 to 4 main performance drivers for the business. So goals that we have for the business. And then we evaluate each feature request based on how effectively it would move the needle for the business in for that goal. So in order to make that calculation, we're also looking at the confidence metric and the effort required. So impact, confidence, and effort. And so that spits out a score at the end of it, and that is what allows us to prioritize and rank the different feature requests.
How often do you find yourself straying from that, or is it a rigid check and balance for your features?
We're a lot more disciplined now as we've grown and acquired more customers. In the early days, obviously, we used to prioritize the customers who paid us more, simply put. I remember at one point, our Salesforce integration took like a week, but that was us. We had promised the Salesforce integration, but actually we didn't have it built yet. But we knew we could build it in a week. So once we did have a customer that needed that Salesforce integration, we then prioritized that and then built it.
Well, let's switch to team then. So how did you build your team? And what did you look for in those people to indicate that they were the winning horses to join you?
Team is an important one. It's probably the most important factor for success at a startup. So initially, it's evolved over time. Initially, it was me and my friends just saying, hey, we have nothing to do. Let's sit down and let's do this. So there was no qualifying if we're the right co-founders or if we're the right people with the right skills. It was just, let's sit down and let's do this. And that worked well because we're all these hacker types that can play multiple roles, wear multiple hats. In the early days, we would always prioritize speed. So one thing we never did properly was having proper CI/CD. We never did proper testing. So now, what we look for is engineers that are also, can write proper tests and are familiar with how to use that have experience with more mature deployment cycles. So we, today we're only 3 engineers today. So we're pretty lean on the engineering side. And we have a front end, a full stack, and then a person that is our Patty, who's our director of software engineering. And he does a lot of the DevOps side of things.
If you were to pick one quality that all of these individuals have, though, that make Ubico successful, what is that quality?
The one quality, there's a lot of qualities, but the one quality is that everyone's very disciplined. They're disciplined, and they can. That means that they can be very autonomous and very resourceful. And I think that's very important when you're working in a startup, which is, a more intense environment than working at a big company. There's less structure, less process. So there's less checks and balances. There's less policies, procedures to follow. So in order to get work done at a very high standard, it really does require a lot of discipline.
This episode is sponsored by Vanta. You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. And obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors. But they take time and energy, pulling you away from building and shipping. And that's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups like yours get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. How, you ask? Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. And the platform connects you with trusted vCISOs to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. Join over 8,000 companies, including many Y Combinator and Techstars startups who trust Vanta. Simplify compliance and get $1,000 off at vanta.com/codestory. That's VANTA.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Kinsta. Between juggling client meetings, managing your website, and keeping up with everyday tasks, who has the time to stress out about website security? Well, with Kinsta, the technical stuff is taken care of, so you can focus on what you do best. Kinsta provides managed hosting for WordPress, offering lightning-fast load times, top-tier security, and unmatched human-only customer support. Whether you're a business owner, web developer, or running a digital agency, Kinsta makes managing your website easy and efficient. Kinsta provides enterprise-grade security, being one of the few hosting providers for WordPress with SOC 2 and other certifications, guaranteeing the highest level of security for your website. Thanks to their unlimited free expert-led migrations, Kinsta ensures a smooth transition for you from other hosting providers. Customers have reported 200% faster load times post-migration to their platform. What I find cool about Kinsta is their fast and reliable customer service and premium features that are included at no extra cost. Ready to experience Kinsta's hosting for yourself? Get your first month free when you sign up at kinsta.com today. That's KINSTA.com. Well, let's flip to scalability. So did you build this to scale efficiently from day one, or are you fighting this as you grow?
Definitely fighting it as we grow. I would have preferred us to build it from day one, with scale in mind from day one, but that wasn't possible at the time. We're fighting it as we grow, and like I said, a lot of the challenges we have today are, yes, around scalability. So we're starting to send a ton of emails. So just the volume of emails sent from our platform has increased exponentially. So that actually put a huge strain on our servers, on our infrastructure. So we're, back to talking about SMTP and email. We then now started to leverage more sophisticated tools that help us with email infrastructure. So things that we thought we would just continue doing kind of from scratch with low-level libraries. Now we're working with partners, other companies that handle those parts for us.
Well, as you step out on the balcony and you look across all you've built with Ubico, what are you most proud of?
What I'm most proud of is the impact that we have on our customers. So what we really love to hear is when our customers tell us that, they don't see a world without our platform. They don't know how they would go back to not using our product. So having that impact, and especially with having that much impact with small businesses, really makes a difference for us, because part of our mission is to empower SMBs to grow. And so it's part of our mission as a company, and that's what drives me personally, and it's really what drives the whole team, is making that impact.
Well, let's flip the script a little bit. So tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
We've made many mistakes, and we continue to make mistakes. But the one big mistake we made was on the tech side was not being a little more methodical on how we chose to architect our system. So we really did prioritize speed, but we really, I think, over prioritized speed versus reliability. So one example is we used Go, the programming language Go, for our authentication. When we had so many different options, like commercial options that we could have used, we chose to write it from scratch using Go, because at the time, our development team thought it would be also a fun thing to add to our tool set. And, you want to have fun as well while you're doing this. But that was a mistake that actually caused a bit of tech debt for us. That looking back, we should have been a lot more methodical and just think of the consequences long term as the system scaled. So what I would actually do differently now is earlier on get a technical advisor earlier on that can sort of fact check our decisions and review some of the tools and the approach that we're taking in developing our system.
That makes sense. That's a tricky one, right? Because you want your developers to be bought into what they're building. And so choosing Go, everybody probably was very unified in that decision, but it still would have been a hard decision. It would have been a hard decision to make even then, to say, actually, this isn't going to be the best thing, even though we're all jazzed about it. So that's tough. It's
a tough one, right? Because you also, you trust the people you work with. And so you don't want to, you want everyone to be, especially different people in the team are accountable for different things. And so that wasn't part of my function. So I didn't challenge it too much because I trusted the person to make the right decision. But I think some level of, hey, is this really the right decision long term? And could we perhaps if there's some disagreement, let's validate it with a technical advisor that has a lot more experience that can, tell us if this is right or wrong.
So what does the future look like for Ubico, the product, and for your team?
So there's still so much innovation left in email. Email hasn't looked different in the last 20, 30 years. It's looked the same. There are things that are happening in the industry that are creating a lot of change. For example, the death of third-party cookies that is completely disrupting digital advertising. And so companies are really going to need to rely on other ways to connect with their customers. And so we think that tracking is sort of the old way. Having meaningful conversations and building authentic relationships is going to be more and more important, and email is really a solution for that. So email becomes a lot more important as a way to build an authentic relationship with your customer, and also the tools to build these systems are a lot more accessible, and it's become easier. So, for example, we launched a product recently called Autopilot, and it takes in a few bullet points and spits out a personalized email. And that's using a pre-trained language model called GPT-3. And GPT-3 to me is profound, because what it represents is, for the first time ever, we can get access to a deep learning neural net via an API. So just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you'd have to have like a whole team of really smart scientists and people with PhDs in AI to do this kind of stuff. But now it's available to us for a few cents per API call. So I think that's pretty profound. And so we've integrated that into our product. And then for the team, so the team is about to really explode, because in October, we're actually raising our seed round. So we're sort of at this inflection point where customers love our platform, and we just need to satisfy their needs, their feature requests. We have a huge backlog of their feature requests. So we our team is about to grow, hiring more engineers and especially hiring more sales and marketing staff, because up to this point we've been really pretty much growing organically using our own tool, using email, and then also just through referrals. So for us, it's about finding the right team that can also help us get more customers.
Well, let's switch to you, Phil. Who influences the way that you work? Name a CEO, a CTO, an architect, really any person. Name a person you look up to and why.
To be honest, I don't really have like these idols, these tech idols. I read a lot of books and biographies of various entrepreneurs like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, and I guess those people motivate me. But I think more practically, it's some of the people around me that motivate me the most. So my father, for example, he runs his own small business. It's a very small scale. It's in the transportation industry, but he's sort of been always very resourceful and very independent. So that's what motivates me. And then my advisors as well, that are advisors to Ubico, they've really influenced the way that I make decisions as a founder.
Okay, so we talked about a mistake, but a little bit different spin. If you could go back to the beginning, what would you do differently? Or where would you consider taking a different approach?
Yeah, so what I would do differently is actually take more time planning. So rely on the no-code tools for as long as possible. Because when you start writing code, it really is every new line of code adds a risk, and it adds technical debt, and it's going to need to be refactored at one point. So what I would do instead is actually, instead of thinking about how do we write code for this functionality, it would be what sorts of other tools can we use? What sorts of other no-code tools can we leverage that would deliver the same functionality? And then take more time to plan on how we would get off those tools, but spend just a lot more time planning and then vetting the plan with people that are more experienced, like a technical advisor at a company. And they're out there. These people, like a lot of people that are senior at these engineering roles in tech, they want to help out. And if you just cold email them, right? If you reach out to them saying, "Hey, here's our situation. We'd love to have you. We'd love to ask you a few questions about our technology decisions." More often than not, people are willing to help out. So we should have done more of that, and that would have avoided a lot of costly mistakes.
I would echo that. People in the tech world specifically are always willing to help and share their knowledge. I would say that's 99% of the time. People are willing to jump in and do that.
And honestly, the only reason I think that also a big reason why we've been able to scale is because us as founders, we've always had computer science chops. I've met a ton of founders that either have been taken advantage of by development agencies that just keep increasing the statement of work and it getting too complicated. And then also now I'm learning how many tech startups fail because of huge technical infrastructure challenges, that it's almost the point of no return. There's like so many issues that it becomes impossible to navigate. So it's important to be very methodical about your infrastructure.
Well, last question, Phil. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world. Can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
I would say just do it. My advice is just do it. Entrepreneurship is the type of journey that you only really learn as you go. You can read as many books and watch as many videos, but entrepreneurship is really just about doing it, and then having fun along the way as well. Sometimes, especially in the startup world, where everything is sort of really everything seems rosy from the outside, but then when you look in the inside, it's like there's a lot of chaos. But I would say have fun, because it's actually a huge privilege to be able to do a startup, to work at a startup, to work in tech. It's a huge privilege that we have, and so just remember to have fun along the way.
Couldn't agree more. Well, Phil, thanks for being on the show today. Thank you for telling the creation story of Ubico.
Thank you, Noah.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. Support the show on patreon.com/codestory for just $5 to $10 a month. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.